The story begins with a cunning and brilliant thief named Morris. Police caught him for a bank robbery, but his punishment wasn't a normal jail. He is being taken for a life sentence to the world's most dangerous and secure prison, Alcatraz, a place where not even a bird has ever flown out. Alcatraz is a terrifying fortress, built not on land, but on a desolate little island in the middle of the ocean. This means clearly, even if a prisoner risks his life to break out, he can't run, because ahead, his path is blocked by death in the form of cold, deep water. That is why this holds the title of the world's most secure prison. Not petty thieves, but the world's top and most ruthless criminals were kept here. But friends, soon this prison's pride and reputation was about to be ground into dust, because now Frank Morris has entered, a mastermind who has broken through the walls of the biggest jails before. But seeing this scene, even Morris got a bit nervous, because this jail was far more secure than any he had imagined. But Morris had nerves of steel. He didn't want to rot his whole life here. He wanted to escape this hell as soon as possible. Upon entering, Morris's sharp eyes began scanning every corner, planning his escape. First, Morris is stripped completely naked for a full body search, then locked in a tight cell. A guard comes to Morris with a sarcastic smile. "Welcome to Alcatraz." And friends, that is exactly where the real story begins that will give you goosebumps. Suddenly, a loud bell rings, and all cell gates slide open automatically like a machine. Officers scream, calling prisoners out. The discipline here is so strict, you almost need permission to breathe. Prisoners must follow strict rules for cleaning and timing. Everyone wears the same uniform, heads down, walking in line for breakfast. At the dining table, Morris sits opposite an old prisoner named Litmus. Morris asks in surprise, "I didn't get a fork. How am I supposed to eat noodles?" Litmus stares and says, "Hey, this isn't your home. Eat what you got quietly, or you'll starve." Then, a beast named Wolf enters the scene. This dangerous inmate starts teasing Morris. Every prisoner was sick of Wolf. He was an animal who forced his will on everyone here and has many heinous abuse cases against him. The most dangerous sinners are kept in this prison. Here, Litmus asks Morris for some food, and Morris gives him his plate. But when Morris leans down to look under the table, he discovers something shocking. Litmus wasn't eating the food himself. He was secretly feeding his pet mouse. Here, animals were valued more than humans. At night, a guard takes Morris to the warden. When Morris reaches the warden's lavish office, the warden looks into his eyes and says, "I know you have a very sharp mind and are highly intelligent, but what use is that here? Because many hotshots like you came and went, but no one escaped from here. Prisoners follow strict rules here. You can have a visitor once every 2 months, and only if I'm in a good mood." The warden is a stone-hearted man who gives such strict punishment for the slightest mistake that it shakes their soul. He threatens, "Don't even think about escaping, or you will be cut into pieces." To which Morris replies in a clever tone, "No, sir, with you here, who could think of escaping?" But actually, the warden didn't know that from day one, escape planning had started in Morris's brain. During this, Morris watches like a hawk and, seeing a chance, steals the warden's nail clipper from the table. It was a tiny thing, but Morris knew that in a jail like Alcatraz, even this small nail clipper could do massive damage. Back in his cell, Morris hides the nail clipper inside a Bible. The next day in the bathroom, Wolf harasses Morris again. But this time, Morris wasn't going to stay silent. Now Morris shows his true colors, grabbing him and beating him so badly that everyone just watches. After beating Wolf, Morris established a different level of fear and status in the jail. Everyone started fearing him. After this, Morris is given a job in the library. There, he meets a man named English. He's the oldest, senior prisoner. English was also serving a life sentence for double murder. He had spent half his life here. He knows every nook and secret of the jail. He knows everything happening. He even knew about the fierce fight between Morris and Wolf that morning. He gives Morris some books to deliver to every prisoner's cell. The next scene shows the prison yard where inmates are playing games. That's when he meets an artist named Doc, peacefully painting a portrait. Doc is a very simple, decent human serving time for years. He had a passion for painting and spent most of his time in these colors. Doc said that in a suffocating jail like Alcatraz, anyone could go mad, but thanks to his painting, his mind is still working fine. Seeing a flower in Doc's painting, Morris asks, "Why did you paint this flower? It's not on your shirt." Doc takes a deep breath and says, "This is my happiness, which is alive only in this painting. It has died in my heart." Then, when Morris looks to his right, he sees English up top. Morris approaches him without fear. When he gets close, English's henchmen stop him. Then English signals to stop, saying, "He's our guy, let him come." Morris sits next to him and immediately speaks his mind. Morris asks him, "Will you help me escape from here?" Hearing this, English laughs out loud. "Look, son, this isn't just a jail, it's a living grave for us all. To get out, we have to die first. Only then will our dead bodies reach the graveyard." English explains further. Even if you climb these huge walls, cross the dangerous fences, and by some magic power escape the eyes of hundreds of guards to get outside, you still can't run, because the bloody ocean will block you ahead. So don't waste time, just serve your sentence quietly. At least you'll stay alive. But Morris was firm in his resolve. He hadn't learned to quit. He wanted to flee this prison at any cost. That night, an officer tells Morris he's been assigned carpentry work starting tomorrow, a wage of 50 cents an hour, too. Morris agreed immediately, not for the money, but because he thought he might find a tool there to help his escape plan. The next day, Morris asks Litmus for a way out. Litmus laughs. "Huh, it's very easy. Every cell has an air vent. You can reach the roof through that. Maybe you can escape from there." And smiling at Morris's words, he walks away, thinking Morris is joking. Then, Doc warns Morris, "Look behind, Wolf is coming." Suddenly, Wolf attacks Morris with a sharp knife. Morris quickly wraps his coat around his arm and starts fighting him. Just then, a guard comes to stop them, but Wolf, in a frenzy, stabs the guard too. The situation gets out of hand, and the watchtower guard starts shooting. Only then do Morris and Wolf stop fighting. Morris didn't know a tower guard was present at all times. Now he starts noticing every little detail of this jail. As punishment, guards take Morris and Wolf to D Block. Friends, this is the place where prisoners are tortured in pitch blackness all night. It's a cell where the silence can drive a man crazy. Before leaving, Wolf threatens, "Son, your death will be by my hands now." That night, Morris endured various tortures, leaving him in terrible condition. After staying in that dark cell for 2 weeks, when they bring him back to his cell, he was half dead. There, Litmus sends a note via his pet mouse that reads, "Welcome back, Morris." Reading this, a faint smile appears on Morris's face. One day, a new prisoner named Charlie arrives at the jail, luckily placed in the cell next to Morris. Morris and Charlie quickly become friends. Morris then introduces him to his other trusted friends. At that time, the warden does a surprise check on every prisoner's cell. When he goes to Doc's cell, he finds many beautiful paintings. The warden is amazed that his talent is growing day by day. Doc had even painted a portrait of the warden. Seeing it, the warden smiles at first, but for some unknown reason, his mood shifts the next moment, and he orders the guards to throw all paintings out of Doc's cell. This cruel decision by the warden broke Doc completely inside, because Doc was alive in this jail only because of his painting. He loved every single painting more than his life. It was his only joy here,
and even that was ruthlessly snatched away from the poor guy. Friends, if you think the warden did wrong, surely like the video. Morris comforts him. "It's okay, friend. It was just a painting. You can make more." But Doc couldn't come out of this shock. The next day, seeing him, Morris requests the guard, "Please keep an eye on Doc. He looks very disturbed. He might harm himself in anger." The guard rudely tells Morris, "Mind your own business." Doc is also given carpentry work with Morris. Suddenly, Doc secretly puts something in Morris's pocket. Then he calls the guard, and with a sharp axe given for carpentry, he chops off 3 of his fingers. Blood starts streaming as he says, "I don't need fingers I can't paint with." Saying this, he starts screaming. The guards grab him and take him away. Morris sees that Doc had put the same flower in his coat that he had painted. Maybe he wanted to tell Morris, "These people snatched my last joy." In anger, Morris picks up Doc's severed fingers, puts them in a box, stares at the guard and says, "Go, give this to your warden. He'll be very happy to see it." The next day, Morris sits in his cell. Suddenly, he sees a cockroach entering the air vent in the wall. Seeing this, Morris's eyes light up. He realizes if this cockroach can go in, there must be a way out. Just then, English comes and tells Morris Doc cut his fingers because his permission to paint was permanently revoked. Knowing this, Morris gets so angry that he solidifies his plan to escape Alcatraz. The next day, in the dining hall, the warden asks Morris suspiciously, "Why are you supporting this Doc so much?" He says, "It's nothing like that." Saying this, Morris goes back to sit at the table. There, he meets 2 brothers, John and Clarence, but Morris talks to them as if he knows them from before. Actually, John and Clarence were in Morris's gang in another prison, and now the team was complete. Escaping jail seemed easier to John now because both brothers had sharp minds like Morris, and now the 3 of them began solid planning to break out of prison. In the afternoon, Charlie's girlfriend comes to visit. On the other hand, English's daughter has come to see him. Tears fill English's eyes seeing his daughter because she had grown up so much in his absence. English felt deep regret for not seeing his daughter's childhood. On the other hand, Charlie's wife gives him bad news. His mother is very sick, and doctors say she won't survive more than a month or 2. Hearing this, Charlie gets desperate and thinks about escaping Alcatraz to see his mother one last time. Just then, the guard says time is up. In desperation, Charlie tells Morris that night, "If you plan to escape, count me in. I have to go to my mother." The next day, Morris, Charlie, John, and Clarence hold a secret meeting. Morris reveals his master plan. Every cell's air vent opens to the roof. Secondly, this place is in the middle of a saltwater ocean, and the humidity has weakened the walls. I have a stolen nail clipper, and I have already started digging. If I dig little by little and make a small tunnel to reach the roof, we can get out of here. John asks, "If guards check at night and you're not in your cell, won't they get suspicious?" Then Clarence smiles and shares the solution. He says, "I know a barber here who cuts prisoners' hair. He can supply us with real hair, and using that, we'll make a dummy head to lay on the bed. So even if we are out through the wall tunnel on the roof, guards won't suspect anything because they'll think we're sleeping." But the issue was still there. We get out of the jail, but how do we cross the cold ocean water? Morris tells John, "Look, I need your help with this. You work in the clothing department. You can find raincoats made for police officers there. So steal some raincoats for me. We'll make a tube boat and life jackets out of them to cross the ocean." Charlie says, "Brother, give me a job too. I want to help you guys." Morris tells Charlie, "When I dig the ventilation grill, you keep watch outside so no guards see us, and when you dig, I'll keep watch." Everyone likes Morris's clever plan, and that very night, putting their lives on the line, they started the work. But that nail clipper was too small to dig the wall. Morris had to use immense force to use it, and digging the wall was becoming very difficult. His hands scraped, blood started coming out, but he didn't stop. Slowly, he kept digging that hole. The next day, at the dining table, he tells his friends, "I need a bigger tool for digging. Digging with a nail clipper was too hard." Suddenly, looking at the spoon in his hand, Morris gets a brilliant idea. He intentionally rubs the spoon on his shoe to make it dirty. Then Morris calls the guard and says, "This spoon is dirty. Give me another one." The others also requested the guard to change their spoons to create confusion. The guard didn't suspect anything and immediately allowed the spoon exchange. Then he walks straight to the table where another security guard is seated. But just as he starts exchanging the spoons on the table, John distracts the guard with conversation. Taking advantage of this, Morris picked up 2 spoons instead of 1 and hid one in his pocket. Will Morris get caught? Watch ahead. After that, he goes straight to his cell. At night, when English comes to give him a book, Morris asks, "Can I find any welding equipment here?" English realizes the ghost of escaping jail is still riding Morris's head. He warns him, "I told you before, your attempt will be useless because you will be caught and probably lose your life too."
But Morris didn't care about Inglis's warning. He was obsessed. The next day, he goes to Litmus and asks for some matchsticks. Morris says, "If you help me, I promise to give my share of food to your pet mouse every single day." Litmus, who loved his mouse more than anything, happily agreed to this deal. Friends, have you ever seen such love for a mouse? That same night in the dark, Litmus secretly passes the matches to Morris. Now Morris uses his brain. He removes the handle from the nail clipper to create a small shovel. Then he breaks the stolen spoon and attaches it to the clipper's handle. Lighting the matchsticks, he welds them together perfectly, creating a sharp digging tool that could cut through stone. With the tool ready, he starts digging around the vent. Charlie keeps watch outside. The plan was simple. If a guard approaches, Charlie would whistle to signal Morris. But exhausted, Charlie falls asleep while watching, and just then, death arrives in the form of a guard. Morris is digging inside, unaware. But luckily, at the exact moment, Inglis intervenes, distracting the guard with conversation. On the other side, Inglis's loud voice wakes Charlie up, but in sheer panic, his throat goes dry and he can't even whistle, so he intentionally drops something from his hand. Hearing the clank, Morris understands the signal and covers the vent with cardboard, lying on his bed in a split second. The guard looks in and asks, "I smell something burning here. What's going on?" Morris lies with full confidence. "Sir, who would dare to smoke with you around? I don't smell anything." The guard trusts him and walks away. That was a close call. As soon as he leaves, Morris gets back to work, removing the concrete around the vent. But then a new problem arises. The ventilation grill has iron screws, which require a sharp metal tool to cut. During this time, whenever Morris got a chance to go outside, he would secretly drop the dust and cement from his pockets into the garden so no one would suspect a thing. The next day, while doing carpentry work, Morris spots a piece of metal that is sharp like a knife. He picks it up. But Charlie gets scared and says, "How will you get this past the metal detector? If caught, they'll shoot us." Morris says with a glint in his eye, "I'll handle that." When Morris walks out, the metal detector at the door beeps loudly. Beep, beep. Actually, Morris carried the metal in his hand on purpose. The guard angrily asks, "Why are you carrying this?" Morris innocently says, "Sir, I thought I could use this to hang my clothes." The guard says, "Don't be smart. Give that to me." Saying this, the guard cakes the metal, checks Morris, and lets him go. The guard thought he caught him, but he didn't know he just fell into Morris's trap. But our hero is a genius. He actually stole not 1, but 2 pieces of metal. One he carried in his hand to distract the guard, and the real tool was hidden inside the sole of his shoe. Reaching his cell, he uses the sharp metal to cut the iron grill. Now it was time to make the dummy heads to fool the guards. For this, all 4 friends played their parts. Charlie asks the guard for some paint, saying he loves art. Morris grinds the concrete from the hole to make skin-colored powder. John secretly collects real hair from the barber shop, and Clarence brings old books from the library. With all materials ready, Morris uses water and old magazines to make a papier-mâché head.
He applies paint and the real hair, creating a fake head that looks terrifyingly real. In the dark, no one could tell it wasn't human. Along with this, Morris made a fake cardboard wall to hide the hole, painting it to look exactly like the real wall. One night, Morris takes a risk to go up alone. He places the fake skull on the pillow and covers it up to the neck with the blanket. Then, taking the fake cardboard, he slips out of the tunnel. There, gripping the pipes like a spider, Morris slowly climbs up to the roof. On the other side, Charlie is keeping watch. Reaching the roof, Morris sees a heavy iron grill up there, which he can't reach even by jumping. Meanwhile, a guard comes downstairs and stares at Charlie, asking, "Why are you painting so late at night? And why did your friend Morris sleep so early?" Charlie's breath stops. He stammers, yes, sir. Morris was tired from work, so he slept." Suddenly, the guard drops his baton. Picking it up, he notices Morris's hair looks very strange. Now Charlie starts trembling with fear, thinking, "We are dead today. Death is certain." Suspicious, the guard reaches through the bars to touch Morris's hair. Suddenly, the blanket moves, and Morris asks, "What happened, sir? Is my hair so beautiful that you're stroking it?" Luckily, Morris had slipped back down just in time. The guard leaves embarrassed. Friends, if your heart skipped a beat, comment "saved." The next day, Morris tells his team, "There's a way out on the roof, but the grill is too high and very strong. I need one more partner to help." John says, "I will come." Together they would open the grill, but to cut it, they needed a drill machine.
The next day in music class, everyone is playing instruments. Suddenly, Morris spots a small table fan kept there. Morris's brain clicks. The motor can make a drill. He signals Charlie. Charlie cleanly hides the small fan inside his instrument box. When Charlie walks out, the guards check his instrument box, but they somehow miss the fan and Charlie is let through. Back in the cell, Morris takes out the fan motor and after hours of work, creates a homemade drill machine. That night, Morris and Charlie climb to the roof and start cutting the iron rod with the drill. Zzz, zzz. The drill's noise was loud in the silence. Hearing the sound, guards get alert and start coming up. But by then, Morris cuts the rod and immediately stops drilling. As the noise stops, the guard gets confused and walks away. Now, all escape routes were open for the four of them. The destination was in sight. On Tuesday night, they were going to escape the world's most secure prison, Alcatraz, doing something considered impossible. The next day, they meet again in the movie hall. Amidst the movie noise, Morris asks, "Is everything ready? What about the raincoats?" John replies, "Everything is ready, boss. We made 2 boats and life jackets from the raincoats. The dummy heads are ready Q. We just need to fly now." The next morning at breakfast, Morris places the flower Doc painted on the table in his memory. The warden, a cruel man, sees the flower, walks over and ruthlessly crushes it with his hand. Seeing this, Litmus's blood boiled. Doc was his friend. Litmus screams in rage and attacks the warden. "You killed Doc, and now you destroy his memory too?" But as he lunges forward, he suffers a massive heart attack and collapses dead on the spot. Fire burns in Morris's eyes. The warden had taken the lives of 2 of his friends. Now, this wasn't just about escape, it was about revenge. Morris waits for midnight. Then English comes to his cell. Morris says, "This might be our last meeting." English understands tonight is the night. He gives his blessing and leaves. But then the worst happens. The warden suddenly arrives for a surprise check on Morris's cell. It felt like someone had snitched. Morris's heart pounds violently. Months of hard work were about to be destroyed. The warden shouts, "Search every corner of this cell." The guard checks everything, clothes, bed, everything. But Morris wasn't a common thief. He was a genius. His plan was so perfect that when the guard moved the suitcase exactly where the hole was, he saw nothing, because Morris had placed the fake cardboard wall so perfectly painted that it looked completely real. The warden leaves empty-handed. If you like Morris's brain, don't forget to hit the like button. The next day at breakfast, Wolf threatens Morris. Morris says calmly, "You're right, tonight will be my last night here." Wolf thinks Morris is scared, but he has no idea what Morris is about to do.
As darkness falls, the operation begins. That night, Morris, John, Clarence, and Charlie decide to climb out of their vents and meet on the roof. Morris gets out. John and Clarence get out. But as Charlie reaches his vent, his hands and feet go cold. He starts panicking. Fear overpowers him, and he sits back down in his cell, paralyzed. Up on the roof, the three friends wait for Charlie for a long time. The wind was strong. Danger was increasing. When they realize Charlie isn't coming, with heavy hearts, they decide to leave him behind and move forward. Down below, the doors to freedom were closing for Charlie. Up above, the three dodged the searchlights, holding their breath, reaching the edge of the building. Suddenly, Charlie snaps out of it. "What am I doing?" He gathers courage, climbs out the vent, and reaches the roof. But sadly, it was too late. The three were gone, and Charlie couldn't reach that height alone. Tears rolled down his face. A moment's delay stole his entire life. On the other side, the three hang from the pipes, cheating death, and land on the ground. Avoiding the tower guard's eyes, they reach the final and highest fence. Now only the cold, deadly ocean stood between them and freedom. Running to the water's edge, they pull out the raincoats and start inflating them with their breath to make a raft. Breath running out, hands shaking from the cold, but they didn't give up. Finally, the boat inflates and they step into the dark water. Fighting the waves, they vanished into the darkness. Alcatraz lost. Morris won. Next morning, wake-up time, the guard comes to check the cells. Reaching Charlie, he sees him standing like a living corpse, drowning in regret. The guard goes to Morris's cell. "Wake up, Morris!" No movement. Angry, the guard walks in and shouts, "I said get up!" He grabs Morris's hair and pulls. Morris's head detaches and comes off in the guard's hand. The guard screams in terror. He realizes it's not Morris, but a fake dummy. The ground slips from beneath his feet. Sirens blast across the entire Alcatraz. Woo! Woo! The news spreads like fire. The world's most secure prison has been broken. The warden goes insane. He moves heaven and earth to find them. Helicopters, boats, everything is deployed. The warden refuses to believe anyone could escape his jail. He convinces himself they must have drowned. But where are the bodies? The warden sits defeated on the shore. Headquarters is screaming at him. Suddenly, the warden's eyes fall on the ground. There, between the rocks, lay Doc's favorite flower. This was Morris's message. We are alive and we won. The search team never found their bodies. To save his reputation, the warden filed a false report stating they drowned. But the world knew the truth. Exactly 1 year after this event, Alcatraz prison was closed forever because Morris proved that no wall can imprison the human spirit. And so, Frank Morris became the genius criminal whose secret remains buried in the ocean waves. Friends, do you think Morris survived? Let me know in the comments. And if you love this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.